Hi, morning folks. Once again, welcome to the TRP third round of the South African Motocross National Championship here in Gqeberha. And it's going to be a great day. We had a little bit of a shaky start, a little bit of rain, but I think it's done the track so much good. And a lot of spectator interest in today's racing. And just having a look to see how many entrants there are. And from afar, from all over the country, it's set to be one of the greatest nationals yet. So looking forward to it.
It's African National Motocross racing action time as we arrive at round number 2 of the series. Round number 1 was weathered. This is now the sand pit out at Port Elizabeth and Rover. Sand riders come to the front. We'll focus things on the 125 high schools and our MX2s in this insert, where we get into the 125s as Trent Valsecki, Cruz Martin and Blake Frost were the dudes to watch out for. The championship battle has just begun. Coming out of the gate in heat number 1, it was going to be a wild ride as we saw Valsecki banging bars early on with Cruz Martin. Those were the guys that were going to run out front in the early stages, but it didn't take long for Valsecki, the sand master, to run the numbers out front and allow the chasing pack to settle into the format. All of the championship runners were inside of that top 5 bubble, with the championship chasers trying to make their way through the traffic. By his own standards, Cox was outside the top 5 with a bad gate and a bad qualifying run, but he quickly picked up the pieces of the race in the first half of the moto and started charging his way through to set sail and get some numbers on the page. All the rest of the big swingers were up there. Durrow and all of the boys trying to get their championship charges on track in 2025. In the sandpit though, the 300 was off the front and saw clear air early on, and he ran the numbers the whole way through the day. Valsecki and Barrington Smith were the class of the field, and the comeback ride was coming in from Cox as Frosty started to battle in the later stages of the motos. The last couple of laps though, the style came on for Valsecki as he went 1. Then it was going to be the story to see if he could go 1-1, because once again he was going to be out there running the numbers. Martin so strong off the gate in both of the motos, but it was quick work as Valsecki came through, and once again buried in the pack was Cox, but we'd be keeping an eye on him as he looked like he found his groove at the halfway marker of the day. Cox indeed, with the big number 1 plate, was running the numbers up there. He got a much better drop off the slam this time around and was able to fight inside that top 5 early on. Out front, Valsecki was running the numbers, but it was going to be a battle between Valsecki and Barrington Smith to see who was going to run the numbers and who was going to be able to get all those points, the important points on the plate. Cox turned his entire day around and went 3-1 to take the overall on the day, beating out on Valsecki and Barrington Smith with captain consistency in the number 3 spot ahead of Durrow and Visa. MX2s is going to be our next focal point. Now, coming into this round, it was all about the multiple champion Durrow, but he had problems early on in the day and was going to be a no-show on the championship points, which meant the man that came into this round second on points was now the virtual points leader. Grundy, Proctor, Carty and Cox were all out there to see what they could get done. The whole shot kid was Van Veek. Van Veek was absolutely monster, fastest in time practice and qualifying. Himself and Grundy looked like they were going to be all out war. Grundy was well positioned with a whole bunch of the Yamahas doing the chase down. Marriott, Proctor and Roth were up there in the early stages, but the 1s and 2s, the guys that are trying to nail down the championships, were climbing the ladders nicely and starting to run off the front. Once again, a poor qualifying from Trey Cox saw him outside of the top 5, and he would have to come through and chase through the traffic. Henley also didn't get the gate that he wanted, and he was sitting outside that big top 5. Grundy started to stretch his legs in moto number 1 with Van Veek, the whole shotter, the closest and best of the rest, but he was still a long way off the back tail of the roost as the big dice was going to be for the 3, 4, 5 and 6, with the championship points runners trying to see what they could do about picking up the pieces. The chase was definitely on, but the man to beat was the 450 of Grundy. He would be stoked at the end of the checkers. and he sent a message to his rivals to stay quiet because he was coming on and coming on strong. Gate drop on heat number 2 and he was gone straight away. No hole shot this time for Van Veek. It was the Grundy show as he pulled 5 bike lengths over the start tabletop and left the rest of the guys to pick up the pieces. So this was Grundy heading for a 1-1, the perfect day in the saddle. But we're going to be keeping an eye on Van Veek, Cox, Marriott, Proctor and Roth to see who was going to be able to pick up the rest of the pieces. Van Veek just did not get the drop off the gate, so he was going to have to pick up the pieces of moto number 2 and try and see if he could salvage that number 2 spot in the overalls. It was clean number plate, clean kit and clean goggles all day long though for Grundy on the factory KTM as he ran the numbers and went 1-1 to take the overall. Van Veek did recover second place on the day ahead of Cox, Marriott and Carty. We went down to the pits to check in with reactions.
So I want to fast try. How was your day, my bro?
I mean, I think it might be 250 train now as well, eh?
Oh!
I'm feeling it. No, it's actually, it started off a terrible day. I was 4th in qualifying for 125, which for me, obviously not up to par. I'm not happy with that. And then 7th in 250, I was like, this is going to be a long day. Then first moto 125, I started 23rd. First lap, I came around like 15, 16. And then yeah, me and another rider at the back I collided with him in the air and I went down really hard. I went back to 15th and then yeah, made a last lap pass for 3rd and managed to come back really good and good championship points like salvaging. Then yeah, first moto 250, I've had a problem with my shoulders from 2023. It's like reoccurring now, so yeah, I've been going to physio and coming back from 3 weeks in Europe. They're really struggling a lot. So first moto 250, I just took it 80% the whole time. I was in pain. And then I managed to pull off P4. I don't know how. I was riding like a bit of a clown, but I think everyone was a bit tired, track was a bit bumpy. And yeah, so it was a good day. Moto 2 125s, I was got a good start. Well, I mean 6th in the start, but for me it's a whole shot. I was stoked. Even did a little scream in my helmet. And then yeah, I just ticked off everyone. By the 3rd, 4th lap, I managed to get into the lead, and then Christian Bengt's was on me. And yeah, I just kept him at about 1 second gap, 2 second gap every now and then. Just kept my calm. I knew I had a 250 moto to go to straight afterwards, so just kept it, rolled it on P1, 3-1 for the overall. Points gap extension. I think I'm up to 20 points now leading, so I mean after the 3rd round it's really good. And now 250 second moto, I was like, okay, everything on the line. They shortened a bit with the sun. I was like, let's go. So yeah, I put everything I could and I managed to go P2 second moto 250. So I mean, second ever national on the 250 and P2 second moto for 3rd overall. I couldn't have asked for a better day considering how it started. So I just roll on with this momentum to the next round where I don't know where it is. I think it's actually Maritzburg, hometown. Big party afterwards.